Hello, folks. Thanks for joining us. You're with Tony Alicea, the Hispanic Mechanic. Today, I have somebody very special with me to co-host today's episode. Her name is Audrey Stringer, and she's a hypnotherapist. And I can tell you personally from using her services that she is an incredible, incredible person. So, without any delay, I'm going to introduce you to Audrey Stringer. And Audrey, how did you get into this line of work?
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for saying that. That was really nice of you, and it's been such an honor to see you grow and working with you.
Yeah,
every session, I feel like I walk away just that was an amazing session together.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta say, every time I leave your facility, your office, or sometimes you come to me, but every time I feel lighter as a person. So I can feel the work. It's transformative, and it's helped me become the person I want to be. So thank you so much for all your expertise and the journey we've had together. So it's been really, really special to know you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. And how I got into this work, I just like you, how you stumbled upon it, really for my own curiosity. Mm-hmm. I found myself feeling broken, feeling lost, feeling like the world was on my shoulders and I didn't really know where to go next. Yeah. But I knew there was something inside of me calling me to just look into more of holistic modalities to heal. So I reached out to a hypnotherapist and I worked with her for about 3 months, and I could see a lot of changes in my life, and that was kind of the beginning of my journey, and really has propelled me into wanting to learn this stuff and really engulf myself in this work and now help others. So that's kind of where I got started.
Yes, I wanted to break this conversation down in a couple pieces as I'm hearing you speak. So the first thing that got me was, broken, you're in a bad place. I think so many people have been there. So many people are and don't know how to get away from that or how to even begin to think about addressing their brokenness. Some people walk around all their lives being broken and do nothing about it. They just repeat the same old patterns with the same old results. But let's talk a little bit about where you were before you started the work. And then I also want to talk about, because it's very interesting when you said that, once you saw your life change, how you wanted to pay that forward, how you wanted to help others. So I think that's where I'm at with all this.
Yeah.
Is the whole thing is to help others live a more authentic, joyful life. So share your experience with me, please.
It's funny because you said broken, and I use that word, but now as I've gone on this journey, what I've realized is I was never broken, right? It was really just I've disconnected from who I truly was, and really a lot of this journey was just recognizing that healing is really just accepting yourself fully for who you are.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so huge. I think one of the biggest breakthroughs I had, and I did share this with you one day going to my therapist, that it's just when am I ever going to fix myself, right? Referring to broken. I think broken is a loose term that a lot of people use, but I think a more accurate assessment would be a wounded soul. And I think if we're not addressing our old wounds, then they can impact us in very, very negative ways. So, thanks for bringing that to light. So, tell me how you started or what prompted you, because for me, I had this awakening in 2019. It's now 4 years now.
Yeah.
Since I started my journey, I just woke up one morning and wasn't happy with my life at all. My health was declining. I wasn't in a good relationship, and I was so fed up and just didn't know where to start. And that day, I just threw my hands up in the air. Not drinking. I'm not taking these meds. And you had mentioned a holistic approach, and that's exactly what I did. I said, no more psychiatrists, no more meds. I went and saw an acupuncturist and started taking all natural herbs and remedies, and that's what got me started on my way. Share with me what was going on for you and
pretty
how you.
Similar.
Yeah.
I feel like COVID for a lot of people, like,
oh God,
you get in lockdown, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize like all of the things that you use to escape your life were taken from you. So
Yeah.
you're faced with this reality of like,
oh my God,
you're stuck with you, like you're stuck with who you are at that moment, and maybe your job or your relationship. You don't have the escape of going out on the weekends and you know, doing that stuff, and you're kind of just like faced with the reality of like, this is my life, like with all of these things being taken away from me, like this is my reality. And I had a similar experience where like COVID hit and I just was like, wow, I am really unhappy, and I've just been like pretending and kind of masking it with
escaping,
drinking.
numbing.
Yeah, and I
Right.
used to experience something called dermatillomania, which is like chronic skin picking, and I would pull my hair out because it was just like this really anxious behavior of like trying to self-soothe myself.
Right.
And struggling with that, and kind of COVID was really my it really was my motivation to really just kind of like you said, I threw my hands in the air and I said, okay, like I want a different life. I know there's a better way. I know that this can't be it for me.
Right.
And just kind of reading all about nutrition, I became a certified health coach.
Wow.
And that was the first step, and I started changing my diet. I started drinking less, just like being really aware of what I was putting in my body and like what I was putting on my body. And that was the first step, but then
So that's called self-love, self-care.
Yeah, but then I really realized like that was the first step, and that changed a lot for me.
Yeah.
But then it really was like, okay, it's not just about the food. The food is really an important part, but it's really about like my thoughts and my beliefs, and you know, all the stuff that goes in our head, and that was like what propelled me to then study hypnotherapy.
Stopping the chatter.
Yeah.
The negative chatter that we feed
Yeah.
ourselves. But let me go back a little bit. When you talk about the COVID thing, I think COVID was God's way of saying everybody needs a correction here.
Yeah, like a reset.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah.
Because I hear so many people talking about it, and that was when I realized that, you know, things had to change for me as well. And the people that were trapped in their homes had to work together and live together, and you know, really got to see where things were. You know, gave people a whole new perspective, and
It really did.
I think a lot of people got divorced during COVID or right after. You know,
You're
myself
really
included.
just like
and it's
assessing
just like,
all these areas of your life
yeah,
that
and
aren't
just, like, yeah.
you're not able to escape from anymore.
Mm-mm.
And yeah, I think you're right. It's a big reset for a lot of people.
Yeah. So let's get back to the chatter, because I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah, I think everybody.
I think it's so self-defeating. It's so the self-doubt, the hypercriticism. How does one go about stopping that noise?
I don't think it's necessarily about stopping it, right? Because we're designed for survival. Like, so our brain is always looking for threats in our environment. Like, that's just the way that we're wired. Going back to primal times, like we just always had to be worried about like a tiger or
Yeah. So that's,
you know,
this is a big misconception that a lot of people think that, hey, you know, I need to stop this. It's not about stopping it.
It's not. It's about being aware that those thoughts aren't true. They don't define you. You know, I don't go a day without a negative thought because that's impossible, but I can view it from an observer perspective and recognize that that's not a true thought.
You can step outside of yourself and just reaffirm yourself.
Because when you take it on as your truth,
and you'll manifest it.
and yeah, well, you know, you're believing these things that aren't true about you, and then you're maybe keeping yourself stuck.
Yeah.
Because you feel
you're holding yourself back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You just killed whatever potential you
Which
had.
has a good intention behind it because it's trying to protect you.
Yes.
But when it's not true, you know, it does stop you
and
from...
this is the hard part. You know what I mean? So, and it's a process to get there.
It is a process.
Yeah, it is a process.
That I'm still on.
I think we all are.
Yeah,
and
we
I think
all
we'll
are.
always be. I think it's part of life.
It is, yeah.
And so I think the real lesson here is the radical acceptance of who you are.
Yeah.
As a person, that was my aha moment on the way to the therapist. Like, when we talk about, oh my God, am I ever going to be fixed? Am I ever going to be able to fix myself? And as I'm driving, I just see this sunburst through the clouds, like God rays. And I'm getting off the on-ramp to go into Doylestown to go see my therapist. And it just hit me. It was like, what if you're always going to be this way for the rest of your life? Why can't you just accept that about yourself? And I literally began to cry in the car on my way to see him. And
it's very powerful.
I felt myself wrapping my arms around my heart that day. And I said to myself, you know what? This is who you are, and you're always going to be this way. And it's okay, because God gave you the tools to get through these times. You need to learn how to use them, and you need to learn to love yourself and give yourself the compassion you need, because you're going to do great things. You're a great person. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
Believe in what you want to do. Believe in your heart. Believe in who you are as a person. Believe in your gifts.
Yeah, because we can't shame ourselves into change, and I think that's the approach that a lot of us take. Even with my skin picking that I was experiencing, I would beat myself up day in and day out. Why are you doing this to yourself? What's wrong with you? Those thoughts. And it wasn't until I was like, what are you trying to do for me? Because it was trying to protect me in some way, and I almost invited it in, and I welcomed it. And that's when I really got the clarity that it was trying to help me. And so it's when you do that, instead of trying to push it away,
right?
It almost lightens that load, because again, we can't shame ourselves into change. And I think a lot of times that's the thinking that we have behind change. Doesn't mean when you accept yourself you can't change. It means actually you'll change and grow into the person that you're meant to be even more.
Okay, so 2 things I want to say here is, first off, thanks for sharing your story. Second off, when I look at you, you're so incredibly young. I'm 60.
Yeah.
And I kind of envy you. My therapist at the time, when I talk about that experience that I had going into Doylestown, he was 32 years old. I'm almost double his age. Just so wise. I commend you for being so young and really getting to the root of what was going on. And I just think that takes a lot of courage. So I want to commend you for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then the other thing I want to talk about is the misconceived perception of change. People think that, okay, I'm working on myself. I had 3 sessions. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm a new person. They think that the change is immediate. And I'm going to speak for myself anyway, that any changes I've made have been long-term, have been over a long period of time through exercising a series of practices and beliefs. So that's how, for me, that's how I transformed.
Yeah.
Because I saw a guy I didn't like, and I didn't want to be him anymore.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to get to the other side.
Yeah.
And so it started with me, first off, taking care of myself, and then reaffirming and envisioning who I wanted to be, having those manifestive thoughts. And that any time that I doubted myself, or if I had a setback, it's okay. Take a break, take a breather. And, that day I also said to my therapist, I'm over this therapy bullshit. I need a therapy timeout. Yeah. And he goes, you're right. Yeah. You're right. Take it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Change isn't overnight. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people struggle with. They get frustrated, and it's easier to go back to what
it's comfortable.
What you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. What makes you feel good, or you think is good for you, right? Because it's easy.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
The hardest thing you'll ever do, and that's why I said courage, is to step up, get the courage you need to make the changes you want in your life, so that you can be your truest, authentic self. So, tell me how the change went for you.
Well, first I want to say, like, I love you. I love hearing that from you, because I think as a hypnotist, and a lot of times when people like come to see me, they think that like I'm gonna change their life in an hour.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get hypnotized. I'm gonna be a new man after an hour.
Yeah,
My life's different now. It doesn't work.
And our brain is just wired to like lull us to sleep. Like, we will go to sleep and we will go back to what's comfortable, unless we have the courage, like you said, to become aware and conscious and awake every single day. So it does take a daily practice of, I wake up every morning and I meditate and I'm aware, and I become aware of my thoughts, I become aware of my beliefs, and no, are some things am I still working on? Like, yes, of course, like, but it's a daily practice. And then when you look back for a few years down the road, right, like, you see that huge difference. But in the day-to-day, sometimes, no, it doesn't feel like, you're making these giant leaps. It doesn't mean you can't have breakthroughs in sessions, because we've had plenty, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it just means that those breakthroughs just mean that you have to continue down this consistent path of, becoming aware and being really conscious of your beliefs, being really conscious of your thoughts. And in those moments, it's an every moment thing, right? We only live in the present moment. So if we can be aware in every moment, that's where the change is really
And that's
happening.
so hard to do, I think, sometimes, because you get so wrapped up in a project, you're at work, and you're not even thinking about something. I think about the parents that come home from work and they're all stressed out, their little ones are vying for their attention, and go get on your iPad, or go get on a game, or lock yourself in your room, whatever. But and life happens, I get it, but I think it's a total different state of being when you're aware.
Totally.
Right? Because you think before you act. You're aware. And not just about how you're feeling, how others might perceive how you're feeling. And there is a very big dynamic shift there. And you'll begin hearing people say, oh, your friendships will improve, and some friendships you will lose. See ya, bye.
For sure, yeah.
So, but there's a lot that goes into it. But I think one of the biggest things that I feel fortunate from meeting you was the ability to like do some of this stuff on my own. After a while, and I found a way to do it, and but it's still good to get checked in with you and really get down deep into the subconscious. Yeah. This is at the level. So let's talk more about the process.
Okay.
Of hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you talk about change, I want to call it like being a mechanic under a hood. Right? So you've got an engine that's idling rough, it's sputtering, and yada, yada, yada. You're not going to know what's wrong until you get under that hood and begin to take it apart, right? It's the same thing with a human. You're going to lay down on a couch and get relaxed and clear your mind. And walk me through that countdown, and then getting to that place where you're actually accessing your subconscious, where your thought patterns can begin to change, or that whole dynamic people aren't aware of. They think, oh, I'm going to hypnotize you, and it's done. It's not that way. But let me hear from you, and I'll give you my perspective on some of the sessions we've had.
Yeah, I love that. But really, like, you want to think of it as your mind is broken up into two parts. Your conscious mind, which is what we're using right now to talk to each other, and that's only about, research says, maybe 5% of our brain function.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then literally everything else, 95%, is your subconscious. And your subconscious is formed from 0 to around 8 years old. So whatever is in your environment, whatever people are saying to you, like, oh, you're going to be so successful when you grow up, or you're not really good at writing, or you're going to be a really great athlete. Like, we're all absorbing those imprints, and we're taking them on as our truth because we have nothing to base it off of, right? So maybe we're seeing our parents fighting, and we have this belief now that relationships are rocky, So all of this from 0 to 8 years old, we're just getting like imprinted with all of these beliefs around our environment. And this is also society too, like society, parents,
The programming.
The programming, right? And
Right.
then that's where our subconscious is formed. So we have these sets of beliefs that then create our thoughts, then create our actions and our behaviors.
Right. So let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
This is so huge. A lot of people don't realize that as a kid, this is how you were programmed. Mommy and daddy told you could do this and not this.
Or your teachers.
Or your whoever had an
authority.
impact
Mm-hmm.
on you as a child, be it negative or positive.
Yeah.
It could go either way, right?
It could go either way.
Pick it up from there.
Yeah, and then, so honestly, we're all kind of like walking around as 8-year-olds, right? Because like that's where our subconscious kind of,
Develop.
And then like turns off, and then we start living our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And through traumatic events and some other things, it can be suggestible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mostly suggestible when we're between those ages, but it's also suggestible in hypnosis. So we get you to a place where your brain waves are slowed down, where your subconscious is open and suggestible to change. So that's really where and why meditation, hypnosis works so well, because you're slowing your brain waves down and you're opening your subconscious to the change. So me as a hypnotist, I will guide you to a place where your brain waves are slowed down, and I'll give you some positive suggestions. Or, we'll explore some inner child stuff or future self stuff, where you can really get this clear picture of maybe what's keeping you stuck, what someone said to you, or what event happened to you that made you believe that maybe you can't do this or be that, and you see it for what it is. It's not true. So then the change starts happening, where you realize like, oh, someone told me I wasn't a good writer when I was in 3rd grade, so I just took that on as belief and I stopped writing. But then when you see it was like just someone's opinion, just one person said that to me, it's just one person's opinion, I can now see it for what it is. And that is where the awareness comes in. And then the change comes with the consistency. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, for me, 2 things. There could be a past wound from early childhood.
Yeah.
And I could hear a sound or a song, or I'm in the middle of an event that triggers that memory as a child. Literally taking you back. You don't even realize that you're being re-triggered. Right? So that's another aspect of how hypnotherapy can help with that. So it's kind of like the PTSD from early childhood, traumatic trauma, traumatic events, stuff like that. But that's incredible. And now I'll go into sharing my. I think we've had about a dozen.
Around there.
Dozen or so.
Yeah, broken up.
So just to give you people an idea of how this works, she will see you for an hour and a half. And what's the fee? What do you charge?
Between $150 is my fee, but I do packages.
But for an hour and a half, I tell you, I find it invaluable because we'll talk about 30-40 minutes about current day stuff, or what's got me all worked up, what I want to focus on. If everything's good, I just feel the need to tune in and go under and do some deep work, then that's fine. And sometimes I'll call her out of the blue, hey man, I'm having a rough day.
Yeah.
Those are the times when I really hit something deep. And for me, I don't think I ever had a childhood memory before the age of 8. And I've had numerous 5, the youngest memory, probably about the age of 1, or maybe even before then.
Yeah.
In the deep hypnosis state. So, very powerful stuff, and your work is amazing, and I could vouch for it myself. I just, you don't realize what's holding you back. You've got so much pain and trauma. For me especially, being abused as a child, and you don't realize it. And, to deal with that later in life is I'm glad I did it versus not, because I probably wouldn't be enjoying the life I'm living right now, for sure.
And that's what it's all about.
For sure.
Like,
and who wants to be an old fart full of problems and drinking alcohol? You won't get to the age you're drinking. You're going to drink yourself to death or whatever, but I could never just sit still in a chair and pick up a book, or just sit still on a beach and admire the ocean and the birds, and just take a walk through nature, and just, like they say, stop and smell the roses, or just appreciate your grandkids more when you have that time with them.
And one thing I heard that like really like hit me, it's like really our job here, our job, is the joy of being, right? And like we just lose touch with that. And that's literally what you're saying, of like watching the sunset, smelling the roses, like being present, like that is our only job. And like when we focus our attention on that, like everything just gets so much easier.
And I think even when you're present while you're working, I think we all get so worked up and things aren't going so well today. Take a breather. What are you here for?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you doing it? Are you doing it, or are you doing it and thinking about something else? This is called being in the moment.
And our breath is so powerful to bring us back into the moment.
Talk about the breath. Breath will get you into hypnosis state. Breath will get you into a really good point of meditation. I use a breathing exercise to fall asleep every night. I get amazing sleep every night because of the way I fall asleep now. So all stuff I've learned from you and the books you've recommended, and you're just an amazing soul. I can't get over your knowledge, your ability to practice at such an early age. I just think you're a phenomenal person. You're full of wisdom and kindness and joy. And she's beautiful to boot. What the hell?
Well, thank you.
So, we're just about going to wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we exit?
I think I just want people to know that, like, if they're stuck, if they're feeling like that weight that we both felt, like, it is possible to transform and to grow. And I think just from both of our experiences, like, the first thing is just believing that it's possible.
Yeah.
And then taking the steps to...
Right. I agree with you 100%. And I think the other word we need here is courage.
Courage, yeah, for sure.
It takes courage to start
It does.
The whole process. So, if you want to get some courage, if you want to get the cojones to start, you can call Audrey Stringer at 215-478-2893. You can book an appointment on her website at Audrey Stringer Wellness. And
that's my email.
Okay.
AudreyStringerWellness@gmail is my email.
Tell people how to get in touch with you.
AudreyStringer.com is my website.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And can they use your email to book an appointment?
Yeah, they can email me. I always do a discovery call so we can just make sure that we're a good fit for each other before we start working together. But yeah,
awesome.
Reach out to me, cell phone, email, and thanks again for having me. This is awesome.
Oh, this is great.
I love these conversations.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we'll have some more.
Awesome.
So, goodbye everybody. Thanks for joining us today. You know what to do. Go do it. Enjoy.